And character models completely changed because it's not a cutscene anymore. Okay. Or at least not a... Well, they're not pre-rendered cutscenes. They're just cutscenes with different character models that have more polygons. So here we are, on the Oregon Trail, or whatever this is, the Hyrule Trail. Let's make sure that Ilya doesn't get dysentery on our way to the Kakariko village. And here we go. Alley-oop. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, ride 'em, cowboy. Oh no, I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore. Okay, it's your turn, honey. We're counting on you. I'm not your honey. Don't call me guy, pal. Don't call me pal, friend. Okay, what, yeah, I figured that was... Yeah, I had the bombs up there instead of the regular arrows. Well, that's not what I wanted to do at all. I didn't particularly want to be flung into a pit. It's a good thing that the screen just fades to black and then I get back up on my feet again. Because otherwise, that would have taken a lot longer to do. I enjoy the things in games that cause them to be complete ego trips for the player. Like, oh come on, that wasn't that hard, because the game teleported me where I was supposed to be. And it's also like how in most games, that's so convenient, how the key just kind of lands in Link's general vicinity and then he decides, oh, I caught it. There's another ego trip for the player. But yeah, in games like this, like, the hitbox of rupees is larger than the rupee itself because you want to collect it. So it just kind of is forgiving to you whenever you're near a rupee, you collect it. And then whenever you're trying to get to avoid enemies, you don't necessarily get hit by them because their hitbox is smaller than the enemy itself. And it's really subtle, but... Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm supposed to be using the boomerang here to be sure that the fires are put out. In this case, fanning the flame is a good idea. This would have been a nice time for the Gale Boomerang to actually talk to you like it did that one other time. So it could finally say, hey, Link, this is a time for me to shine. But no, the goddess inside the boomerang just doesn't care anymore. Now here's the part of the escort mission that everyone seems to get really confused by. I don't really think it's that... Well, no, maybe it's not this part. I guess there's still another whole field to go after this. Another field within Hyrule Field. Let's get some nice spin attacks going. I didn't want to really ride with the boars. Whole stampede. It's just a nice carriage ride. Perfectly pleasant. Nothing's wrong. This is fine. Like that picture that I don't know who it's credited to. Just house in flames. This is fine. And more screaming. Don't worry, I will put out the fire. And worst case scenario, if I don't put out the fire, you will just jump out of the carriage and then I'll carry you on the horse, which would also work just fine. What is even in the carriage that makes it so important to bring along? Okay, and here's the part where they're gonna run around in circles unless I unlock this right away and then make sure the enemies are dead. Alright, there you go. Was that it? Okay, I said that this was not all that confusing of a mission, but that's like the fastest I've ever done it. Usually in that last field, the carriage goes around in circles because you're being chased by enemies a lot, but in that case, they just stopped caring. Let's go to the end. Do you know the fate of his mother? Of Prince Rallis's mother? Yeah. I think I might have said at some point that, his mother, like, sacrificed herself. That might not have actually been true. Someone mentioned that her death was a little bit different from that. And I can't remember what they said. Maybe it was something more like her death was an example to all the other Zoras of what the enemy is capable of. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the game super duper well. I've played it all the way through, I've 100%ed it, but I don't, like, have everything memorized. But it will be alright, child. Just like in the movies. We'll just show her a sock, and then all of it will come back to her. Nice to see that there's still hope here. It's kind of a cliché line, I guess, but it's noteworthy in this moment, and with this music I think it's really nice. Our kingdom is frail and dying, but there's still a group trying to do what it can. Just a single group. That's kind of sad. Have I mentioned that her name is Telma? Yes, I have. Were we supposed to know that yet? I'm not really sure, but yeah, her name is Telma. And she has the hots for Renato over there. Personal space. You're just like the Tooth Fairy in Rise of the Guardian. No, in Rise of the Guardians? No. Which Guardian movie is it? There were so many Guardian movies at once, I can't remember which one was which. Maybe it was Rise of the Guardians. But the Tooth Fairy, because she inspects teeth all the time, had no idea what personal space was. And no concept of keeping a bubble between you and another person. Hello. This isn't strange at all. I know the music is all peaceful and everything, but honestly, this is creepy. Just to me, at least. Just seeing this apparition in the distance, whose pose remains the same as you follow her. Just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm glad that Prince Rallis isn't seeing this, because I think that it would probably scar him for life. But Link is a nice, strong gentleman who don't need no something. And because ghosts have rock-shattering powers... Spoiler alert. Or no, this rock doesn't shatter. It just kind of fades away. It just looks so much like the big rocks in Wind Waker that shatter, so I got confused. How do you make a rock just fade? Alrighty then. I do like this little section here. It's quite beautiful, with the rays of light overhead. There's no reason for there to be rays of light here, because it's not like there's trees that... Well, I don't know what I was saying. Like, usually in a forest, when you see light shining down from above, it means that it's peeking through the leaves, but in this case there's nothing like that. It's just a blank night sky, so it really doesn't make any sense, but who cares, it's pretty. Garments. All we had to do was move that stone this whole time. Just 1 foot away and we could have reached it. You got Zora armor. This special garment was handed through the Zora royal family. If you have it equipped, you can move freely through the water. But you will be more vulnerable to fire and ice attacks. Definitely. There is an ice dungeon that we will be seeing later, and I decided one time to go through it with the Zora armor, and basically everything instantly kills you if you do that. Just if you touch any ice at all, you shatter into a billion pieces and then just game over. And I heard somewhere recently, and by somewhere I mean a stream, that if you jump into, like, the Goron Mines lava... Wait, I don't have water bombs, do I? Nope. Well, I'll... Do I, or do I not? Yeah, I don't. So I guess I'll have to come back here later with water bombs. I remember hearing that if you jump into the lava in the Goron Mines with Zora armor, or just lava anywhere else, which isn't common, but it does exist elsewhere in the game, then you lose 16 hearts of damage, which is really odd to me. Like, you can get a maximum of 20 hearts in the game, so if you lose 16 hearts, then at that point, like, what's even the point of losing that many when you should just die instantly anyways? Like, I don't know. It seems a little bit pointless to me to cap out at such a high number of hearts, where you, in a normal playthrough, if you're not trying to beat the game completely, you wouldn't get that many. Anyways, let's head on through to Lake Hylia, wherever it is. Clearly labeled on the map, I know, I'm just being a silly willy and a chilly billy. Okie doke, I don't know where I'm cutting back from, but I decided to cut the footage there because I went all the way to Lake Hylia and realized that I hadn't bought the water bombs, despite them being something that Barnes reminded me of in mail. But mail in this game is kind of like emails for me. I'll look at them really briefly and then not answer them, and not respond, like, not think about them ever again. I'll just read the title and be like, hey, that's a message that I've read. And it will have been marked as read, so I won't think to go back and read it again. Oh, I have to get the bomb bag. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm getting a new bomb bag or if I'm exchanging this. Yeah, I guess I'm exchanging. Logically speaking, I don't know what the point of having the regular bombs would be. Because as far as I know, like, maybe the regular bombs are cheaper, somewhat. Not that that's a big deal in this game, because you get rupees every time you breathe in this game, but, yeah, the water bombs seem to be exactly the same as the other bombs, but can also be used underwater, so there's no reason to ever have the regular bombs. There's no detriment to having those specifically. Where did the horse go? Where did the horse go? The horoscope. I'm just gonna call this horse of mine Horse. Kind of like whenever we owned a dog, I always called her Dog, even though she had a name. I've probably said that in this LP, but I just don't remember what I have and haven't said. So, onwards to adventure. Adventure is out there! I like this big tree trunk thing. Adds a lot to the atmosphere, makes me think of Pikmin. just this idea that there's this huge thing that in the normal world would be just a regular-sized thing. Are there trees that are as big as the one that we just passed? That big tree trunk? Can't imagine that there are. Like, there are some really huge trees in the world, but I don't know if they get that big. Alright, here we go. I think this is where we go. I'm sorry, horsey, I gotta leave you behind. Gotta leave you outside the castle. This is hardly what you would consider a castle, though. It's just a house of chickens. A house of cards. Nice emblem here. This emblem looks like it's trying to be the emblem on the Hyrule shield. Do we have that? Why didn't I put that on? I don't understand why that wasn't on me that whole time. Yeah. Similar looking bird. And then it is implied that the red bird on this shield is the Loft Wing in Skyloft in Skyward Sword. Which I think is cool. Next up for Fantastication, one big guy! Just one? Yeah, of course just one. This is the kind of business that couldn't be run for more than one person. Because you really have to just pick up a chicken and then go. How could multiple people do this at once? I mean, I guess they could, one after another, but it's like... I don't know. Like, the idea is that you're supposed to aim on this platform way down below and get to the very top one, and there's no way you would have two people get to the top one. Okay, how far down can I drop? Okay, that is a weird, startling stop to the camera. I'm taking it. Oh, wow. Sweet. I would say that was pro strats right there. And then that one's 100 rupees. Which is a little bit strange, because this is like the top reward. And then I'm going to wait for this to go around. The top reward is 100 rupees, something that you could conceivably get anywhere. But then if you drop down... well then... I guess maybe that was the hardest chest to get to. I was about to say, like, the second to hardest chest to get to is the one that has the important thing in it, but then I screwed it up and proved myself otherwise. Anyways, that chest has a heart piece in it, I'm pretty sure, so... yeah, we're gonna go back and get that eventually. Not gonna do it right now because I don't really feel like going back all the way up there with the cannon and flying another chicken into the sun. But, yeah, okay. So let's put on our cool-looking Zora armor. Which makes a lot more sense than the Zora tunic in Ocarina of Time. Swimming around underwater, he has, like, a cover over his mouth. And that's the thing that makes this make way more sense than the Zora tunic. Because there's actually something that keeps you from breathing in all the water. So I don't know. And also the way that Link is kind of ninja-esque by having the cover over his mouth and having the helmet on and everything. All you get to see of his face is his eyes with this on, and his eyes, like, by themselves, not with the rest of his face, but by themselves, kind of reminds me of someone that I, remember in high school. Like, specifically a girl in high school, because Link has very girly eyes. And it's just really bizarre, just how similar his face and everything looks with all that covered up. Just however much... you know, it's like details taken away sometimes speak more than details added in. That's the... Why do I keep doing that? Why do I... No. That's the button that I wanted. Kept pressing the same two wrong buttons over and over again. I was gonna say that's kind of the rule of abstraction in art, where the simpler and more abstract something is, then the easier it is to relate it to more things. Because the more specifically detailed something is, and the more it looks like a specific thing. You know, if you have realistic graphics in a video game, then a character in that game is going to look like a specific person. It's not going to look like, I don't know, Mother 3, where every character could be anybody. And on that note, I guess I could kind of talk about... I remember Konjak saying on Twitter once, and I enjoy his kind of ramblings on Twitter. He's a game developer who's making a game that I'm currently quite excited for. He said once on Twitter that, like, Twilight Princess HD is a good example of why stylized visuals age better than realistic visuals, and not that Twilight Princess is exactly realistic, but it's more of an attempt at realism than Wind Waker is, obviously. But I don't know if I completely agree with that, because there are plenty of games that don't seem to age too well because they attempt to be realistic in their visuals. Oh wow, we spent that whole time without a blue rupee? I don't... on the other hand, like... Any game that attempts realism but fails at doing it completely right, which is basically any game, like even The Last of Us attempts to be realistic but isn't quite there, by default, if it's not 100% realistic, then it's stylized to some extent. By nature of not being the real thing, it has to be stylized. But then again, I guess that it depends on how you define stylized. I'm gonna stop here. This is the first room of the dungeon. I'm probably gonna look up how to do the beginning of this dungeon before I actually do everything, because I don't want to get totally, utterly lost like I did before, so I'll come better prepared. Well, I'll worry about this pretty turquoise goo first. See you all next time, and hopefully it doesn't take me a billion years to upload another part.